Good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution. I've got a different voice this morning. Did a little karaoke on Saturday night. Performed a little Love Shack by the B-52s. So Sunday was a recovery day. I am way behind on shipping. As of right now, 251 items to ship on eBay since Saturday morning. So it was a busy weekend for eBay sales. So that's what I'll be doing for the next 2 days is catching up on shipping out eBay items. Man, a lot's happened in the last couple days. George wants to talk about Dallas, the Dallas card show. What's up, Jenny? Good morning. So yeah, like every day brings us like new drama and craziness in the hobby. And there was an incident in Dallas. I'm not going to go into details because I don't know the details. And it sounds like from what I've read online, there's mixed, conflicting stories on what happened. In the end, a guy gets tased. He was resisting the police officers. I don't know what there's conflicting reports on what this person was actually doing, if he was scamming, if he was stealing. So I won't get into that, but he tried to run, he got tased. So if you try to run from the cops, I don't think you're an innocent party, right? Like an innocent person, if you were not doing anything wrong, you're not gonna run from the police and get extra charges filed against you, get tased. So it was interesting. So I'll check around and I'm sure by today there'll be, a little more clarity in exactly what happened. I thought I was overwhelmed with 27 to ship. I remember I used to get overwhelmed with 10 or 12. And it's like 20 was like, I'm never going to get out of this. And now it's like, and then it became like 50, 60. And it's like, holy cow. And then 100. And now if I'm in double digits, it's like, oh, hey, I can take a quick break. I had 200 items to ship right after Christmas. I think I had like just over 200 after Christmas weekend because you're doing family stuff. So this is the most I've ever had it at one time. So, and I have a feeling I've got to make a decision here in the next 2 months because I'm with my Club 400 friends. A lot of them are going to be going out to spring training. So we've all kind of we're all going to be out there at different times, but similar, like the end of the month. The end of March has been my target, just to make sure the sides come to an agreement, the players and owners, end the lockout, and with all the surging COVID, and if they're going to block off, because one of my favorite parts of spring training is going to the back fields and watching the minor league practices. And if they're going to block those to the public, they did in 2021, which, we were still kind of under the COVID quarantines and all that stuff. So hopefully it doesn't come to that. But it sounds like everybody's starting to make their make their plans. I've targeted that last week in March, like March. So my card show in Madison, March 19th that month. So my plan is like, which actually that was the only date, that was the latest date in March that was open at the hotel, at the venue. And I was like, oh man, I don't want March 19th. But now it actually works out for my travel plans for Arizona. So I think like that Monday or Tuesday, it just kind of depends. I'm going to check flights and cost. And, if it's a little cheaper to go out on Tuesday as opposed to Monday, I'll do that. And then stay out there about a week. Justin, my man Justin's with me. I've got to take Justin out to Club 400. It sounds like the next party is going to be right around that time. There's not a specific date set, nor excuse me, a player announced. So I don't even know if I'll make the March, if there is one in March. Club 400 friends make you sound cool. George shipped 2 packages, and that was too much. One to the grading company and one KBR card that I sold today. So my weekend started Saturday morning. I actually did some shipping on Saturday morning, and then headed down to Woodstock, Illinois, which Woodstock, Illinois, actually borders where Club 400 is, which is in Lake in the Hills, Illinois. Um, so I saw there were a lot of card shows in this southern Wisconsin, northern Illinois area on Saturday. I know Oconomowoc, Wisconsin was on Saturday. Oak Creek, Wisconsin was on Saturday. Both of those cities are on the outskirts of Milwaukee. I think there was another show in Northern Illinois somewhere. Maybe I'm mistaken, but then also the Woodstock show. And it's like, hey, Woodstock, I'm going to be right next door. So let's check it out. I know some of the vendors that set up there. So it's at the St. John's Lutheran Church in Woodstock. I got there about noon. I just wanted to give myself a couple hours. I wanted to do some shipping because I knew what would await me by Monday morning with my shipments that need to go out. So left here about 10, timed it out perfectly so I could listen to Hobby Hotline on my drive down. I hit my former honey hole Walmart, Harvard, Illinois. Used to, back when Walmart had clearance boxes, I'd get 2018 Topps Update on clearance and 2018 Topps Holiday on clearance. It was fantastic. Of course, COVID, everybody wants retail, and now it's not a honey hole anymore. They had quite a select. They actually had a unique baseball card selection because they had a lot of stuff that hasn't been out, like that was released earlier in the year, like Topps Heritage and Topps Archives, which I guess came out fairly recently. But I didn't buy, well, I did buy some penny. They had some penny sleeves, so I bought some penny sleeves. I always buy penny sleeves if they're there. What's up, Zach? So did that, and then I headed over to Woodstock. Got there about noon. Very small show, maybe 20 tables, 12, 15 vendors. Three or four vendors I know from, they set up at the Rockford show that I go to every month. So it was good to catch up and talk to those guys. Oh, update on the Babe Ruth story. So last week I told you about a vendor in Rockford. I actually can give you an update on both stories I told, because he's the same vendor. His name's Tom. He's the same vendor that had a run of Chicago Cubs programs from 1920. It was either 27, I think 1927 up to 1990, many of which were signed. Like some from the 30s were signed. This 1963 program was signed by Lou Brock and Ron Santo. So he was offering these up for sale, and I think he was asking $2,700 for this entire run. I didn't want to spend that money because I'm not a program guy. Like I'm a card guy. So very unique. I'm an autograph guy also. So that was the only thing. If it was just programs, I would have had no interest. Since there were some signatures and some very unique signatures, that's what, like, like, should I, shouldn't I? In the end, no. I can buy, hopefully at some point I can buy a Cap Anson with that type of money if they don't keep going up. So update on that. So he was looking to sell. He wanted to sell the collection as a whole, but he would piece it out and sell individual programs on eBay. He can make more money that way. But he's just like, I just rather just one lump deal as opposed to, 50 individual sales. And especially when you get into the 70s and 80s, they're $5, $10, $15 programs. But the 20s and 30s go for good money. So I asked Tom what if he sold them. He said the guy who he bought them from, he bought a collection, called him this past week, had seller's remorse. And so Tom, he's like, I sold them back to him at the price I paid. So I lost quite a bit of money, from what I could have turned them over for and what I paid him. I lost a lot of money, but he had seller's remorse, so I gave him the deal that he gave me. So that's good. I mean, they got into the right hands, and I get that from like a seller's remorse, point of view. So he also shared with me at the Rockford show, he had Babe Ruth signed baseball, and it was a ball from like the 30s, and it was basically you were able to date it to like 1934, I think, which was Babe Ruth's last year in baseball. There were two other signatures, and I can't think of their names, but they played for the Yankees, and their rookie year was 1934. And there were, I think, 7 or 8 signatures on this baseball total, and it wasn't like uh, if it was not authentic. Like usually, it's like if it's gonna be faked, it's gonna look too good to be true. The actual Babe Ruth part does look too good to be true, but you've seen other sweet spot Babe Ruth balls out there. So Babe Ruth signed on the sweet spot, and then the others are just kind of signed all over the place. Lefty Gomez is on there, and it's kind of like crooked and at an angle on a side panel. A couple others on the side panel. Babe Ruth, beautiful sweet spot signature. He sent it off to Heritage Auctions. It was supposed to be in next month's Jackie Robinson Heritage Auction, and it went to authentication, and it came back not authentic from both PSA and Beckett. Oh, like I just like the story and the excitement he had when he first told me the story a couple weeks ago, and then finding out it's not authentic. He doesn't know why. He just his contact at Heritage just texted him, said came back not authentic from both places. But he doesn't know why. He wants to find out, do they think it's signed by a clubhouse boy or just somebody in the, he'd like to know what makes it not authentic, and if there's any opinion on who possibly could have signed it, not name names, but like, could this have been signed by a clubhouse kid, or could it have been signed by relative, or is it just faked by some random faker? So talk to him. Wasn't much of a selection until I got I kind of walked in, and I got there at noon. I'm talking about the Woodstock, Illinois card show. I got there at noon, and I'm walking by, and it's like slabs and just some random stuff, and nothing that really tickled my fancy. There was one table that had some non-sports packs, but they weren't really what I was looking for. There was one pack, and he only had a couple bucks on it. I almost bought it, but I didn't see anything else, and that's somehow, I don't know why my mind works like this, but it's like if it's only one, I don't want to buy it unless I really like if it's a Cubs card or something. But if it's just like a random thing, it's like unless I find multiple items I want to buy. I think it was like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it was like I probably should. It was like $2. I should have just here's $2. But I'm like I'll just come back, and I just didn't. Because that's one thing that I was looking for was non-sports packs for my nostalgia breaks that I'll start up later this month. So went through another. There was like a dollar or quarter box. Didn't really see much in there that I was interested in. The promoter who runs the show, I think his name's Kurt. He had a dime box, just one single dime box, and he had like a wide selection of. He had supplies, which is perfect when you're selling supplies and you've got a bargain box, because I came ill prepared. I was like the opposite. Brad's not in the chat, but Texas Card Dude brings everything but the kitchen sink. In fact, to the Dallas show, he might have taken the kitchen sink to the Dallas card show. So I was like the opposite of Brad, Texas Card Dude, when it came to what to bring to a card show, because I got about halfway in my drive and realized, crap, I didn't bring my backpack. Oh, I don't even have like a box. I have like all of my card show inventory in the back of my car, but I don't have like a 100 or 500 count box to put singles in. So hopefully somebody has supplies. Fortunately, Kurt had supplies. I kind of opened up, I kind of what I do before I really like grab a pile to look through a bargain box. I'll kind of flip through just to see, and if I see like 90 Donruss or 89 score, anything like that, it's like, or if I see base tops, like if you just pull out a 2021 base tops and I'm not talking Trout or Tatis or Acuna, I'm talking like a 2021 tops, Yoshi Satsugu, because I have him right next to me. And it's like, no. So, what's up, Dan? So, I'll dig through just to see. And he had some like prism colors in there. And I'm like, okay, if there's some prism colors, there might be some good stuff. So, there were some like early 2000s, like upper deck serial numbered. I pulled a couple of those out, like Iwamura, who played for the Tampa Bay Rays. There was one, like, I think his was numbered to 500. Um, So there was some decent stuff. And at first it's like, I'll come back late. If again, going back to that mindset where I want to, bulk buy. I don't want to buy just 4 cards out of a dime box. So I'm like, okay, if I can find 10 cards, that's the first goal. Find $1 worth of cards out of the dime box. And then I'll go back to that first row pile that I look through. So there was enough stuff that I then end up taking a pile out, going through. I ended up with a pile of, I think 60 cards, 70 cards. And I bought a 100 count box to put them in. And then he had dollar autograph boxes, $1.50 autograph boxes. So I was going through and I actually pulled there was an Eric Hinsky Cubs relic. And there's not too many Eric Hinsky Cubs relics out there. So I picked that up and it's like, okay, what else is in here? And then there was some random. I ended up buying, I think, 12 autographs in relics. So there was, I think I pulled three or four Cubs. And I showed those off on Twitter yesterday. One of my like side collections, and I talked about this when I went to the Chicago Spectacular. There was a dollar box in a dollar autograph box. I think it was $1.25. In like the first 2 piles, I pulled players that I covered when they played in high school. So I thought that would be kind of a unique, I'm only dropping a few bucks. I'm not going to go out and, first of all, I don't think I covered any players that have like super expensive, I wasn't covering Mike Trout or LeBron James. So a lot of the guys that I covered are in dollar boxes. So I pulled 3 at the Spectacular. I found in yesterday or in Saturday's card show dollar autograph box, found a Joe Borchard. Dan, you'll know Joe Borchard. He was one of the top prospects in the early 2000s for the White Sox. I think he played for Stanford in college, and he was a power hitter. He was one of my very first interviews when I worked in radio. So I started in radio in December of 2001. So the summer of 2002, I was wanting to craft my interview skills. And because I would do a weekly coaches show interviewing high school coaches. So I had like 0 experience conducting interviews. So it's like, it's the summer, there's no school. So I need to keep working on interviewing sports people. So so I started just interviewing. We had I was working around the Quad Cities. We had a local Midwest League minor league team, the Quad City River Bandits. So one of my first interviews was Joe Mauer. He's 18. He's like I think he was a year younger than me. Joe Mauer. And Joe Mauer was one of my first interviews when he was an 18 or 19-year-old kid. And it's like, hey, this is cool. I want to interview Cubs. And like JJ Johnson was a Cubs prospect back then. I interviewed him. David Kelton was one of my first interviews. And then Joe Borchard. And after not signing in 97. Yeah, and he was also, I think he was a quarterback. I think he played football at Stanford also. Eric Hinsky from Mensa's, Wisconsin, went to college with his brother. Nice. So since Joe Borchard was one of my first interviews, I'm like, hey, for $1.50, I'm going to add him to my my little side PC that it's not something I go out and it's this was actually only the second purchase for this side PC. It's going to be one of those where if I'm looking through and it's only autographs, no relics, no base cards, just autographs, and not like TTMs, just you know, you know, manufactured or whatever you would call like a authentic autograph from the company. So if I'm digging through dollar boxes, dollar autograph boxes like that, and I come across somebody I covered or interviewed, there's one player that I interviewed that I probably um, I'm not, I definitely won't find an autograph in the dollar box, and I'm not gonna go buy one. Derek Jeter was an interview I did um, in my radio days. So I probably won't do that. And I guess I covered the Rams and Bears so in spring training camp. So I guess there's some other ones. Yeah, Kurt Warner probably won't find any Kurt Warners in dollar autograph boxes either. So that was my dime box, my autograph box, and then I went to vendor Steve, who I know from Rockford. In fact, Steve is the guy that I bought the quarter box from at the last Rockford show for $30. So we're talking, and I'm like, he's like, man, I know you from somewhere, and I'm like, yeah, I run the Madison show, and I set up in Rockford. I bought some stuff from you last week, and so we're just talking. I'm digging through, and he's like, wait, you bought my quarter box last week. Yeah. So he gave me a good deal, like out of his 50-cent dollar boxes. I ended up getting a big stack of cards. I think when I counted them up, my pay was like 38 cents per card, a lot of refractors, a lot of color. So I think what I'm going to do with these types of purchases is when I get to list them, I'm going to list them all at the same time so I can track them easily. And I'm going to list, like sometimes you see eBay listings where it's like 1958, and I see this a lot more with vintage cards on eBay. 1958 Topps, Elvin Tappy, Chicago Cubs, SDZ 1112, and it's basically like a internal SKU number. So I think I'm going to do that with these bargain box buys. And so I'll do, maybe WO for the Woodstock show, RO for Rockford, MA for Madison, OC for Oak Creek, any shows that I go to, I'll have that. And then, 001, WO 001. That way I know it's from my first Woodstock show, or maybe do it by month. 001, WO 01 for Woodstock, January. And that way I can go back and say 3 months down the road, I can do a search within my eBay tab, and I can just search title WO01, and it pops up all of my sales with that, that line, that internal SKU, and I can see what my sales are. So I spent, $30 with Steve in January. Okay, I sold $75 from that box, just as kind of a fun experiment. That probably doesn't sound like fun for most people, but I get a kick out of it. So, and I may do like and I told Ryan Nolan from Breakout Cards when we talked in Chicago in November. I'm like, this is like, his videos are so great. Mine are like not produced whatsoever, but I'd like to like refine some videos and do like a video of, a clip of me finding a card, sorting through a bargain box. The issue, and I've tried this a couple times, is, excuse me, some of the bargain box, it gets congested where, and there's not really a good place to put the camera to take video. And a lot of times I just don't think of it because I'm just paying attention to the cards. So that's something I'd like to do a video. Here's what I bought. Maybe since the Madison show, I'm already taking video, and, I can kind of, if Steven comes, I get a lot of bulk from him, one of my vendors. I can just kind of take a video like at the show and then splice it in with the rest of the video, and then, do that for my first attempt. So we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna go to the chat real quick before we talk Club 400. Jenny said my Saturday show, I had to bring a load of boxes to the car. Half hour into the show, by noon, my back was hurting from the backpack. Absolutely, I know that pain. Dan says it's a good pain. Eventually, it becomes a good pain. What when the pain goes away? It's like that was pain, but now it's over. Now back hurts more. Oh, unloaded 14 5-row boxes, 4 4-row boxes, 5 3. Holy cow. And I was only a shopper. Well, you shopped. You shopped. Wow. Still working on the blog for the White Sox first round picks. Pretty much a rookie of each will be posted or earliest minor league card. I love it. I hate the fact that ComC on different computers doesn't keep the same card inventory. I haven't been on ComC in a while. And I considered submitting to ComC, but this was like 2 years ago. The first issue was the everybody's jumping off ship because of the shipping times and all that, and in the processing times. It's like I can get all of these cards loaded onto eBay in like a day, where it's going to take 6 months for ComC. And I know they've gotten those issues handled. And I think the price, see, a lot of my cards are lower dollar. I think ComC, and I'm not bashing ComC. I think ComC is a great platform. It's just not for me because, I'm pretty fast at uploading to eBay, but it is the shipping. That's the nice part about ComC is, then you don't have to, you sell it, but you don't have to ship it. They handle that. So that's like, man, it's like, I wish I could outsource my shipping. I was actually considering, since I'll be in spring training for a week in March, I was actually considering, this label printers, I could throw it in my carry-on and get it linked up to my iPhone, and maybe take like a small box of cards that I think might sell while I'm gone, and at least I'll be able to keep up that way. Otherwise, I'm going to have to, and I think I'm probably just going to have to shut the store down for that week, because if in a day and a half to 2 days I'm moving 250 cards to ship, what's a week? It'll be over 1,000 items to ship, and that's just, first I'll be slow, and I don't want, I don't want to be way off on shipping times. So probably just going to shut the store down. I think it's a poor idea. Plus I'm not going to want to when I'm out there, I don't want to rush back to the hotel so I can get some cards packaged up. Then you have to bring, if I either have to top load them here, bring all the supplies. Now I'm talking myself out of it. That's a terrible idea. Why did I even think of that? Low Roller Scratcher, you've been card show this month. Yep. Rewind this video and I talked about the Woodstock show, or watch it when it hits my channel. Once you get that behind, you'll never catch up. That would be disastrous. I mean, I'm looking at 250, and it's gonna, I'm not gonna be able to list. I probably won't do any file exchange until the end of this week, just because I'm going to be doing all shipping. I still have 3 boxes of Bowman Draft to open, which those Delight boxes are awesome. My buddy Nick, who's probably watching this later, he bought a whole bunch. He bought like the max you could on Topps, which I should have done. If I would have known how much I liked these boxes, I would have bought the max. So he's going to bring some to the Madison Card Show, and I might be interested in buying some more, because it's a really fun rip, and there's great value in those boxes. So I have 3 left to rip, which won't be anytime soon, the next couple days at least. But I have been listing some of the singles just laying on the couch. So that's probably all I'll be listing. I'm not going to hit my 100 per day listings, at least until the end of the week. And then maybe by the end of the week, I think my next file exchange update will be the quarter box that I bought in bulk, and maybe try that, little experiment out. So Club 400 was Saturday night. We had guests Frank Schwindel, Ron Coomer, and we also had John Maley in the house. He was the Cubs hitting coach in 2016, the World Series season. and Julian Martinez, who was Sammy Sosa's personal hitting coach. He was in the house. So it was good stuff. Uh, we partied, we had fun. There was karaoke. Um, I don't think Frank and his wife they actually stayed pretty late. Not as late as Patrick Wisdom. Patrick Wisdom was partying with us after midnight. Um, but Frank and his wife hung out. They worked the crowd. Ron Coomer having a good time. John Maley always has a good time. John's been out there a few times now, so a great time. Some good stuff. Um, didn't Lee Smith party pretty late? I don't know. I was not at the Lee Smith party. Lee Smith was out there back in 2017, I think. My first Club 400 party was January of 2018. Was it 18? Yeah. And that was Bill Buckner and Ray Burris. That was actually Ray Burris's first time, and he's been there like 6 or 7 times now, just hanging out. So it was a lot of fun. Coomer did a Q&A with Coomer, did a Q&A with Schwindel. We did autographs and pictures. So I couldn't remember if I had a Ron Coomer signed baseball, but I do now. So if I have one, I now have 2. But I did not have a Frank Schwindel ball. So 2 more signed baseballs into the signed baseball collection, which I haven't counted lately, but I think I'm around 500. So got those. Are you selling all your card by date, 1970 to 2022, 1 through 700 listing by one? You can sell it 129 each cards. It will only count 1 card. Yeah, the variation listing. I don't do variation listings often. Every once in a while, I'll do if I have like if it's a low dollar. I've done like 70s football, and I did have great success with doing that with 1973 football. The thing is, I can list faster doing them through File Exchange, doing the uploads on File Exchange as opposed to variation listings. And I know it only counts as 1 card listed, but I have like 61,000 free listings. I thought it was 51,000, but I went into my seller dashboard the other day and it said I have 61,000 free listings. So I have 61,000 free listings. I'm at like 10,000. So I'm not to the point where I need to worry about getting creative with listing strategy. Have you scanned your 200 plus orders to see our most single scales, or are you starting to get? I'm starting to get a few more multiple card orders. How about this? I had an eBay message yesterday. From a buyer who bought like 5 or 6 cards. And now in my listing in File Exchange, I need to change the template in my File Exchange description tab. I have buy 3 or more cards and get 10% off. But I changed that in my for 2022, and it's 15% off when you buy 3 or more cards. My buyer reached out. He goes, "Hey, it gave me 15% off, but it says 10%. I can pay extra. I can pay that difference." And I'm like, "Whoa, no. It is 15% off. Even if it was a mistake, I'm gonna honor it. I'm not like a breaker in Florida going back on a word." So I thought that was really cool. It's awesome because few and far between do you receive messages like that. Usually it's the other way around. So that was awesome. But I am starting to see some more 3+ card orders, and I think that's because my sale was inactive. My discount was inactive, and I don't know how long it was inactive for. But I did notice it was a lot more single card sales than the bulk buys. So I am starting to see more multi-card orders. Can you tell us what questions were asked? So with Ron Coomer, Ron Coomer said a lot of it revolved around like his broadcast work. Pat Hughes. What does Pat Hughes do when he steps away from play-by-play for a couple innings? And he goes to, there's like an open booth in the press box, like in the back row, and he just goes and sometimes he shuts his eyes, takes a little cat nap, but watches the game from a different booth. Um, he talked about what else was there? The World Series, and just like kind of played it back. Like, I he actually had to throw. He goes, the one thing I don't want to do as a color analyst is talk over the play-by-play guy. And he goes, there was another Ron that was in the booth that didn't follow that same credo, Ron Santo, which I loved Ron Santo, and I think most people did. But yeah, he would get a little excited, talk over Pat Hughes, which that was his style. Ron Coomer doesn't want to do that style. So he goes, when it got to that point, the ball is hit over to Chris Bryant at third base. It bounce, bounce, bounce. And he plays it like play by play, the bounce, bounce, bounce. Bryant's leg slides and he throws, and he goes, usually when you have that happen, when you slide like that, you lean back and it goes high. Your throw goes high. And it was just to the right. It didn't get to that point where it went over the first baseman's head. Anthony Rizzo caught it. He goes, I had to slap the microphone away because I was screaming. So that was cool. A behind the scenes, the last play of the World Series, the Cubs finally win. How did Ron Coomer react in the booth that we didn't hear? So I thought that was really cool to learn that. So Frank Schwindel, I can't remember. I had gone back. I didn't record any of the Schwindel interviews, so I can't really remember what was talked about with Frank. So yeah, I'll see if there's a video. I think my buddy Crawley took video of the whole Q&A of both Q&As. So I'll try to tweet that link out if he hasn't posted yet. What's up, Andrew? Good morning to you. How's that overhead scanner working out? It's working out great. I posted a video. If you check my Twitter from I think Friday, I tweeted out a short video of it in action. But I've only like ran a couple scans to test it. I was gonna do some of my Bowman, like the chrome that I pull out of these Bowman draft boxes, but I don't want to sit down at the desk and commit that time. I just kind of, when I've been listing these cards, it's just on the couch, 5 or 6 at a time, take a break, 5 or 6 at a time. So haven't really used it, but I will be talking to Don from Fujitsu this coming Wednesday. We're going to go live at 10 a.m. Of course, it'll be available for playback later as well. So looking forward to that. He's going to give us the background into how the Fujitsu scanners have kind of been introduced to the hobby as like a baseball card scanner. So we'll talk about that. He's a collector himself, so we're going to talk about that and more. So looking forward to that. So that's what I had for today. Just wanted to recap the weekend, the card show, the Club 400 party. Had a good time. I've got a lot of shipping to do. So I'm gonna get down to that. So have a great Monday, and we'll chat tomorrow.